Welcome to Conversations Sin Miedo, a podcast where we break the stigma around mental health in the Hispanic community. I'm Sonia, and this is a safe space for open, honest conversations. Whether you're first generation, navigating cultural challenges, or just looking for a place to feel heard, we're here to talk about it all sin miedo y con corazón. Join me as we share stories, answer your questions, and create a community where vulnerability is celebrated. Let's start the conversation. Welcome to Conversations Sin Miedo. Today is a very special episode because I am doing this monthly segment that I want to pretty much do every Wednesday in the month of May because I've been slacking. I know I haven't been posting as much as I want to. I'm just pulling up my picture. So I have to charge my iPad because it's right here. So this is the calendar and it's on my social medias. But today, let's talk about ADHD. So what is it? What it is? What it isn't? Pretty much, I was very excited to talk about this episode because I feel like, well, it's the month of May, so May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's not Mental Health World Day, it's Awareness Month overall May. So today is the first episode to kind of get that out. Each week I'll be doing a different episode and a different topic. I hope by the end of the month I'll have some guests, so hopefully she can join me and they can join me. But on Mondays I'm going to do check-ins. So last Monday, what did I do? Of course, my iPad's at 4%. My phone's literally charging right now because it was at 20%. So ADHD. So I don't think that's to do with ADHD, but okay. So Monday check-in was mental health reset. What do you want to do to prioritize your mental health this month? How are you really feeling as we start a new month? And then write down 3 small goals that support your emotional well-being. So I shared on there, I said, I'm feeling like a mix of excitement and pressure because all this I wanted to do, and I'm life and everything I'm trying to do at once. There's so much I want to accomplish, but I also feel a little overwhelmed trying to balance it all. And then the next one, I want to prioritize resting and setting boundaries, which funny enough, somebody that's very close to me that I never would have thought crossed my boundary, didn't listen to my boundary. So that was funny. I've been pushing myself a lot lately and I know I need to give myself permission to slow down. And then 3 small goals to help support my emotional well-being. So 1, start each morning not checking my phone right away. That's actually been helpful. I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest. I think I don't check my phone for the first 5 minutes or so, and then I'm on my phone. Which, I'm playing music, getting ready, brushing my teeth, whatever. So I feel like that doesn't count. I said go for a walk at least 3 times a week. No distractions, be active. And then sticking to my boundaries and not letting negative energy in. So that's why I was someone, didn't, respect my boundary. So, that happened. But I was okay, the boundary I set with this person was I didn't set my expectations too high with this person. So if they were to let me down, I don't know. I didn't let it bother me so much of I can never trust anyone or blah, blah, blah. So, it's when you set that boundary, you have to realize that they might cross it. They might not listen to it. And to not let it sort of again, letting that negative energy in and sort of letting it get to you, sort of thing. So let's get back. This is so ADHD. We're going to talk about the topic, what it really is, like some myths about it and some like misconceptions, and kind of like just the misunderstandings of it, especially in cultures, and just how like often it's missed in women and especially people of color too, because maybe I should Google it, but I think women are less likely to be diagnosed um, with ADHD, if I remember something. Yeah, women are less likely to be diagnosed with ADHD compared to men. Underdiagnosis is a significant issue, so we'll talk about that. So, yeah, that's real. So, what is ADHD? So, it stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Let me Google. Yes, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, which in my professional life, in my job, I have done a lot of trainings with ADHD. And the last one I did, they talked about how this, even the name, like, what does that mean? What, people think it's like you can't pay attention. They jump to that because of the name. It's just confusing. So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition. So in your brain, there's 3 types: inattentive, hyperactive, impulsive, and combined. So both. And there's, symptoms in kids that like, it's kind of similar to adults, but kind of different as well. So pretty much ADHD affects how the brain manages focus, organization, memory, and emotion. So not just behavior. And I'm like trying trying hard to not talk about, like I want to focus on ADHD. I mean, it is, like when you see it in kids, especially like I work in a school setting too. So it's always those kids that are labeled like bad behavior that don't have, not all the time, but this is my experience, that sometimes they're seen as like, well, they don't pay attention. They're, getting in trouble, blah, blah, blah. And it's like with ADHD, that can happen. And it's something that I feel like with, more education can be very helpful to understand it and to really sort of break that stigma too of like you're not a bad kid, you're not a bad person. Your brain is just different and you do things differently. And it's kind of like, it doesn't mean you can't pay attention. It means you can focus on more than one thing at a time. You can, people with ADHD sometimes have that like hyper focus that they can multitask and do different things. Like I saw this thing that's like, do you watch a video or do you listen to music while you clean or while you, like when I'm washing dishes, I'm like putting a podcast I watch, not mine, and I'm washing dishes. So I'm like doing 2 things at once. So it's, I've kind of seen that too, of how, I don't know, these like different things you do can be like, oh, that's kind of linked to ADHD. So, with that, it's, like I said, it's not that you have bad behavior. It's just that like managing all that at once can be a lot. And so, I really wanted to touch base on ADHD in women as well. So it could be undiagnosed, because I was looking this up, that pretty much mostly because like girls and like women go undiagnosed because they're not disruptive. They don't check that box, so they're not diagnosed. So another thing, women with ADHD tend to internalize symptoms. So like forgetfulness, disorganization, chronic overwhelming, masking behaviors, people pleasing to hide that struggle, and high functioning but burning out. Emotional symptoms is like rejection, sensitivity, anxiety, guilt, and perfectionism. Many women are diagnosed later in life, often after their child is diagnosed or when work or life becomes unmanageable. So, in my personal experience, like ADHD, growing up, I kind of knew about it, but it's like something like with mental health that we don't really talk about. And so I just thought it was like, you're like, have so much energy, blah, blah, blah. But again, there's like different types of ADHD. And so, it's like, okay, if it's like, well, you don't seem like you have ADHD, and it looks different for everyone. Everyone's different, So yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Like in women, it's undiagnosed because it's kind of like, we kind of like the same thing too, like trying to hold it all together and trying to do everything and not trying to ask for help, so it's kind of that way of, like we sabotage kind of, like we put all this pressure on us to like, okay, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I have this workload, and then I have things to do at home or my personal life or whatever. And it's like, well, I have to keep going. I can't sit still, sort of thing, or I'm not to my goal yet. Like it's kind of like rushing and feeling like kind of overstimulated too and feeling overwhelmed. So it is, yeah, it's like I said, it seems kind of falls under that umbrella. So when you are like if you've ever felt like you're constantly like falling behind, like no matter how hard you try to get forward, and you might feel like it's laziness, but it's ADHD. Like, oh, I could talk so much about this, but there's actually ADHD like paralysis. I think that's what it's called. But it's like you're like maybe you're laying on the couch like doom scrolling, and you're just like, I gotta get up, I gotta do dishes, I gotta do laundry, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and you're kind of like that is not what I put paralysis, and it said parent glasses. I'm like, no. So ADHD paralysis is also known as freeze mode. So a state of overwhelming where individuals with ADHD struggle to start or complete tasks due to difficult focusing, managing emotions, and prioritizing information. So I need to like put in my TikToks, but there's like, a TikTok where it's like when you clean your room too hard and you found a hat and you found like old stuff, and it's, I don't know if that's similar, but to me it is. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to deep clean my room. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start. And then I find something and I lay on my bed, and then I don't clean my room. So that's like my personal experience, but it's also with like decisions and task paralysis. So it's kind of like if someone's like, what do you want to go eat? And you're just like, well, I don't know, we could do this or we could do that. Even deciding where to eat or where to go or what to eat. And also, like there's something called task paralysis too. So like being unable to write an email or like a message because you fear it won't be perfect. So it kind of goes under that, like perfectionism and people pleasing and all this stuff. So yeah, there's a lot that falls into it. I mean, it's not, that's another thing too, which I think I've talked about before, is like, maybe I might, no, I was like, I try to keep myself organized, but something I want to say too is that when we, so like if someone I saw this on Mel Robbins' podcast, and she has the let them theory that I've talked about before. So she was saying how like people start off talking like, oh, I have anxiety, I can't do that. I have depression, I can't do that. Like they weaponize it to make it like I have anxiety, so I can't do this for you or do this for myself. And you're sort of like telling your brain like, well, I can't do that because of this. Like I'm not good enough because of this. And that's another thing too with ADHD. Like yeah, there is such thing as the paralysis thing, but I like argue with my husband over this, but I like you can't use that as a way to get out of things, right? Like I have ADHD, I can't go to work. Girl, you gotta go to work. You can't use it as a way to get out of things. Like if you're feeling depressed and you have no energy, like yeah, there's a difference, right? There's a difference of like I need to take a break. But if you're using it like against yourself, I think that's where you're like, okay, that's not what this is, sort of thing. You can't weaponize your whatever it is, like anxiety, ADHD, things like that. So that's something too that is hard, and especially for me that I'm like really trying to get out of that, like using that against myself in a way, and again, kind of like self-sabotaging. So that's something I wanted to say too, is like we can't, like there are people that say like yeah, bad things happen, life sucks sometimes, like it's really hard when yeah, you get when life gives you lemons, sometimes you get them sour, bad, dirty lemons, and you have like the shit end of the stick, literally. So yes, those things happen, but you can't let that bring you down, sort of thing. It's kind of the same thing. And it's like some people are like, well, I have anxiety, so I can't be responsible, I can't be an adult, and I can't do these things A and B or whatever it is. And that's not what this is, because I like I said, in my experience, when I would say those things, I would just sort of fall into that, like, yeah, I can do this, sort of thing. Like, again, it's kind of going back to that mentality of like, well, I can't do it because of this, or I'm not good enough. It's kind of like in that perfectionism too, but some people, again, use that against other people. Like, I'm a shitty friend because I have anxiety. Wrong. That's not how that works. You're a shitty friend because you're a shitty person. Anxiety is like, well, like with ADHD, for example, like I'm always running late. So I'm like, all right, I have to my phone's recording, but I have 5 alarms to wake me up and wake me up to get to work. So, my 3rd alarm, it's like, okay, if I have an hour left to get to work, to drive to work and be there on time. And then it's kind of like counting down. And that's what really helps too. And especially when I work at work, a lot of my clients that I see that have ADHD, I work with elementary school age. So they really like timers. And that's what really helped me too. So going back to what I was saying, like, if I'm going to eat with my friends at 4, I'm like, okay, I know it's going to take me 30 minutes to get ready. So at 3:30, I'm going to get ready, but then that gives me enough time to drive there or whatever. So it's kind of about like, okay, since I have this, I need to work with it, not against it. Okay, so getting off that tangent. So a lot of myths that come with ADHD is people just are like, well, just like focus more, just pay attention, as like if it's easy to like switch in your head, like just focus. The next one, that's not ADHD, they're just being lazy or emotional. So again, it kind of goes back to that stigma of mental health and how, well, if I can't see it, it's not true sort of thing. And like I said, yeah, some people have also different types of ADHD in it. They might have other things on top of that, or, no one person is the same. So it just goes back to that people judging and like, kind of comparing themselves like, well, I had this shit on the end of the stick and I did this and I did that. And it's like, okay, that's good for you, but it's what works for you might not work for someone else. So another thing is, with, just huge with mental health as well as just the lack of access to, especially culturally competent evaluations and support, and it's growing slowly, but again, it falls back into that really low numbers of like therapists and like professional providers and things like that. So seeking diagnosis, support, and treatment. So how to seek evaluation for yourself or your child. Do not Google, did not do like, do I have ADHD or blah, blah, blah. Like, you really need to go to a professional. If you see a video on TikTok, I mean, yes, I do that sometimes too, but people self-diagnose too much. Like, I'm feeling sad, I'm depressed. Like, you can have like a depressive episode, but sometimes, it's like we just jump to this conclusion. So really going to a professional, and even maybe starting with your doctor and figuring out like with your insurance or someone that, I don't know, could point you in the right direction, but also finding even a community resource too, or like, we all have a phone, we have the World Wide Web at our hands, like Googling a little bit more about it, or like a provider with your insurance and things like that. Especially if you want to, maybe if you have a kid and you want to seek something for them, finding someone for their age too, in that age group. So another thing, yes, it is important to kind of like not self-diagnose, but kind of say like, wait, these are some things that like I've noticed, or I have, I don't know, have been bothering me. Like, yeah, having a list of that could be very helpful. So, your input, but also understanding the clinical input too, and their side of the professional. The importance of professional support too, like therapy, is again very important too. A lot of the times with, and I'm trying not to, I mean, we could talk about it again, but with children, it's, just with everything, like there's a lot of pill pushing and taking medicine, and sometimes that medicine, yeah, it could be helpful, but then the child might have different side effects. There's always that too. And a lot of parents think like, well, I don't want my kid taking medicine or whatever. And it's something that, they're not going to be on it all the time. Let me fix my posture. It's something to try and like sort of weed out and kind of think like, okay, this didn't work, maybe try this one. And a combination of medicine and therapy does really help too. Like there's so much behind how that could be really helpful and be very like, what's it called? Like, like a big support team to help you get through that sort of thing. What else? What was I thinking about? Yeah, like meds and things like that. So, some strategies to help you, like I said, alarms and timers. Like putting my alarm, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit on this couch for 10 minutes and then I'm gonna get up. I have a timer on like TikTok, like, okay, you've been scrolling too long, blah, blah, blah. That could be really helpful too, especially with ADHD. It's very, with time and hold. The train is passing by. I hope you didn't hear it, but with ADHD and timing and organizing, what was I saying? Yeah, might be difficult for you, but things like that could help. I wish I was a planner person. I mean, I have my Google Calendar to remind me of things, because I'll forget. But some people use a planner to write stuff down. I carry my phone everywhere, so I have it on there, and like the digital reminders, like it will alert me. So those could be helpful too. Like if you have a doctor's appointment coming up, things like that. Emotional regulation support, again, therapy, journaling, mindfulness too, practicing that. Routines are very helpful too. Normalize having like a different working style. So, ADHD brains are creative and adaptive and like full of potential. So again, finding something what works for you, maybe something that works for someone might not work for you, but really kind of testing it out and seeing what works best. I feel like I'm missing something, but I really want to talk about ADHD, especially in children, and I feel like there's so much that really goes into that. Not my iPad being on do not disturb. Yeah, so May 21st, that would be my episode, Supporting Children's Mental Health, and that's something I really want to talk about with ADHD. Next week is going to be money and mental health, and then the last week of May would be mental health and friendship, so that one's going to be kind of going into that. So, with ADHD, I know I wrote something else down. I thought I saved something on here. So I guess the big takeaway with ADHD is that everyone isn't like, if you are energetic or whatever, you may have ADHD, maybe not. Or if you're always late to work and, I think you kind of have to look back and really see like how your day-to-day is. Like I said, like, man, I literally didn't realize when I would wash the dishes, and I hate washing dishes. I hate it. That like, another thing is that like sensory thing. So sensory is like, I hate. So my iCloud storage is 0. Don't got any more. I'm going to try to record this. I said a lot of things. It only recorded the first 17 minutes and I talked for like 35. So, I was talking about sensory. Thank goodness I write notes and let me see where I was back. So, I think I talked about that. Man. I watched the video back. I said like 700 times. So that was really funny. So I'm trying to remember what else I was saying, but the gist of it is if you um, use these tools and oh, I was talking about sensory. Hold on, let me go back to that. So when you're feeling, so for me, I don't like to touch sand. I don't like to feel um, dry, or I don't like my feet to feel dry. It's super weird. But when I feel like that, I get overstimulated, kind of like feeling overwhelmed, and that can happen with people with ADHD. And it seemed like they don't want to. I guess they don't want to do anything, or they don't want to, like if I feel that way, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this at all. So it's kind of like a sensory thing too, a sensory sensitivity, that when you feel like that and you get overwhelmed, feeling overwhelmed, what you could do, how you can control that and work on it. So that's something else too, even with like um if you're feeling overwhelmed in a big space and like there's a lot of people at a busy store, that can happen too. So sensory for sure. I hope I didn't talk about this, but I'm gonna if I did, whatever. But I was talking about how people weaponize ADHD, and weaponizing it and trying to sort of use that as an excuse, kind of like if you have anxiety, or if you have depression, and it could feel like um, it sort of overwhelms you, right? So it's kind of different with ADHD. And with that, I think I talked about the paralysis and stuff too, but it's very tricky trying to get out of that. And really, it goes back to having that self compassion with yourself, and not, doing that perfectionism sort of thing of like, I have to get this done, I have to do this, and I can't mess up, I can't um, not do it. So that is something that it just goes back to that, and trying to be helpful for yourself. My dogs are running upstairs, of course, or maybe it's my husband, I don't know. But having that self compassion with yourself, and letting yourself, okay, make mistakes, and you don't have to people please, and you don't have to live up to other people's expectations either. So I know I talked about my alarms and like getting up, and that's something you have to do, of trying to find something that works better for you, that you can do, so that um maybe setting a timer might not be helpful for you. Maybe doing a schedule. I wish I was a planner girl. I have a cute little planner. I can't do that. I could do like an electronic or digital planner. Like I have Google Calendar. That's really helpful for me, because it sends me a notification, so I don't have to notify myself. Like if I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, I'm like, oh yeah, it reminds me. So another thing with ADHD is emotional dysregulation. So emotions can sort of feel bigger with ADHD, and that goes along with rejection sensitivity and frustration and guilt. So again, it goes back to that people pleasing, and I can't be wrong, or I can't be doing this mistake. So with that, sometimes it could feel just like a big emotion, or feeling, I don't know, scared, and wanting to deal with that. But again, it just feels so big and kind of overwhelms you, and then you're overstimulated and blah, blah. So again, it goes back to, with therapy, working on what works best for you, trying to really, not really control yourself, but control those emotions and like regulate yourself. Like, okay, let me take a deep breath. What can I do? Going back to those sort of basics, right? Um, a lot of things too with ADHD, it's like neurodiversity, right? It's like, I guess, in your brain it looks different. Doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's bad, but people see it as like, um this person's lazy, or this person doesn't do this, blah blah blah. And it just goes back to being open-minded and being like aware. Like this is why I do this. So I'm not going to go deep dive into every single thing about ADHD, but just having this conversation and sharing little things about it. And I really want to dive deep into the episode I'm doing in a couple weeks with children. So I don't want to go too much into that side, but with this, it's kind of like if see a kid like jumping up and down at a restaurant or at the movies, and you're just like, man, that kid, like, where's your mom? Like, you just jump to that, right? But then understanding, like, oh, maybe they have ADHD. I don't know. Maybe they're having a rough day. Maybe they got low energy, blah, blah, blah. It's just being open minded and being aware of that. Um, Another thing I don't think I talked about too was, I'm trying not to rush through it, but I'm like scared I'm going to get, like, I guess my storage will fill up. So start a GoFundMe page, go fund my iCloud storage. Apple wants us to buy these big ass phones that are expensive and then have this no storage at all. And let me stop. Let me not rant. Don't come for me, Apple. Who's Apple? I don't know. Anyways, so another thing I wanted to say, and I think it's very important, is I know I talked about it at the beginning, but again, open-mindedness, being comfortable, or being um like, what's it called, giving yourself forgiveness, self-forgiveness. Like with ADHD, it doesn't have to control you. Yes, you have these symptoms, or yes, you have these things that you might do things differently, and that's okay. Find what works for you, but also not weaponizing it, not using it against yourself or other people. I hope I didn't talk about this already, but like, um, if you are late going to work and it's like your boss is like, "Hey, why are you late?" "Oh, I got ADHD. I got ADHD." No, like you can't use it for things like that. Like people sort of weaponize it into like that side of things, of like using it like, well, I'm a bad person because I got anxiety or I have depression, and people use it differently for their advantage. And yeah, if you feel depressed, if you feel sad, like, yes, like that's okay. But some people use it as like, well, I'm a shitty friend because I have anxiety. No, you're a shitty person. That's different, girl. That's separate. So with this, I'm trying so hard not to say like, so I'm saying so. When people do this, again, you're setting yourself up of like, well, I got ADHD, I can't do it. You can, like, you're, but you're putting that out in the universe. You're putting in your brains of like, in your brain of like, you can't do this because of this, and you just fall into that habit, and it sort of goes downhill of like, well, I can't go to work and blah blah blah. So again, I'm not saying that it doesn't relate to it. I'm saying that like you can work on controlling it and can work on how to manage it. Again, with maybe taking medicine, maybe having medication, or doing therapy. Both of them combined can be very helpful. but you just have to try and figure out what works best for you. I feel like I hope I didn't repeat myself. I'm going to um really be engaged this month, and I really want to do, I have the calendar up on my phone. So I really want to do um a giveaway May 16th, since that is Mental Health Awareness Day. I put it on my calendar on my social media. Yeah, so May 16th, but I really want to do a live Q&A, so like answer questions and talk to people. And when I do that, I will announce the giveaway winner. So let me know. Maybe I'll do a Amazon gift card, or I don't know, something cute or whatever. Maybe a Stanley, I don't know. So please look out for that. I'm very excited for this month, and I set these goals for myself to like follow through on doing these episodes and being more active, and yeah, active in my podcast. So I hope I didn't miss anything. Yeah, but I appreciate all of you. I really appreciate the support and watching. Thank you for, it was just technical difficulties. Again, please donate to my GoFundMe page of getting my life together. So just kidding. I don't have one, but not yet. So yeah, that'll do it. So please like my Facebook and my Instagram, and whatever you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, or on Spotify, share with a friend. I do appreciate all of you. I do this for us. I do this for us to have this conversation. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.